Welcome. In this month's programme, we need you to be a real-life armchair detective on some of Britain's most notorious crimes. With photos of faces you might recognise, film of crimes as they actually took place, some names you might know, and a knife that could lead to the attacker of an 11-year-old in Manchester.
As always, the investigating officers and the BBC researchers are manning the phones, waiting to take your call if you think you can help with any of tonight's cases. The number to ring is 01 811 8055. Our reconstructions tonight include a robbery in which treasured family paintings were taken and a case you might have seen in the headlines last month, the murder of a private detective as he left a pub in South London. And can you help us track down two appallingly callous robbers who stole guns and then set fire to their victim? Police would also like to find a man who's a former aide to Enoch Powell and a friend of Harvey Proctor. He could be armed and dangerous.
Viewers have been turning up suspiciously cheap cigarettes all over Britain. After last month's programme, we reconstructed a series of lorry hijacks in London in which over £500,000 worth of cigarettes were stolen. Nearly 300 viewers rang in with information. As a result, several people have been questioned by detectives. Obviously, we'll give you more news when we can.
Viewers who called about the wages snatch at the Prince's Butoni factory in Huyton, Merseyside, gave police so much information that many leads have still to be followed up. One important witness, though, has still not come forward. The driver of a black cab who picked up 4 men in Speke on Thursday the 19th of February. If you know who that driver was, please call us.
We also showed this man who tried to rob a building society in London. 2 viewers independently phoned the Crimewatch studio with a name, and detectives are hoping to trace him soon. They now think they know who he is. Please call us if you know where he is.
After last month's Aladdin's Cave, police have found the owner of the antique desk which was stolen from North London last June. And 15 viewers helped us to trace the winners of the 3rd prize in the Fastnet Cup in 1937. The Silver Cup will soon be given back to its rightful owner in Sussex.
Disappointingly, only 25 viewers rang about the murder of Eddie Owusu, a car park attendant in Hammersmith in London. One Saturday night in January, 2 men were seen running away from the car park. Mr. Owusu was found shot. Police still need witnesses that night, and there have been no arrests.
As a direct result of last month's Crimewatch, Alan Stephen Johnson has been arrested and charged with theft and deception. A week after we showed a photograph of him, he walked into a betting shop in London. An assistant there recognised him from the programme, and she phoned the police. Minutes later, he was arrested and has now been charged.
Our first reconstruction this month is a particularly disturbing crime, and I want to be very clear about that. It's a robbery on a gun shop in Hinckley in Leicestershire 7 weeks ago, in which the owner was doused in petrol and set on fire. Alan Bray represented Great Britain in the combat pistol team for the Olympics in 1964. He's married with 3 children, but he's now critically ill in the Birmingham Burns unit. Hinckley is in the Midlands between Leicester and Coventry, and not far from the M69. Our reconstruction starts 2 weeks before the robbery. This row of shops in the centre of Hinckley is where Alan Bray has run his gun shop for some 14 years. On 2 occasions before the robbery, 2 men were seen opposite the shop, seated in a car. The driver appeared to be making sketch drawings. A witness remembered them because of the unusual way they'd parked their white Fiesta car. Monday, the 9th of March, the day before the robbery, this woman saw 2 men approach the back of the gun shop. Tuesday, the 10th of March, at lunchtime, 1:30 p.m.
Yes?
I want an egg on about 50 or 60 pounds. It's for shooting at Rushton.
Is it for rabbits and pigeons?
Yes.
Yes. Try that. Well, there's quite a large selection. Would you like to look through these brochures?
We're from the police, checking security. Have you seen any suspicious-looking characters around?
No, why?
Well, the police have been keeping their eye on this row of shops for a couple of days. We've reason to believe there might be an attempted raid on your shop.
Well, I haven't seen anyone suspicious at all. What's it all about?
As you probably know, there was an armed raid on the gun shop a couple of weeks ago, and we think the same men are going to make an attempt on your shop.
Well, look, can you hang on a moment? I've got a customer in the shop. I'll just check that he's all right. You all right?
These are some plans of your shop. You take a look at these while I just get some photos out the car, OK?
Just a minute. I'm sure you are who you say you are, but I think I ought just to check with the local police to make sure everything's in order. Routine security.
That's fine. Here's the man you want to speak to. I'll get the photos out the car, OK? There's a uniformed policeman just down the road. You ask him to pop in a minute. Cheers.
Get easy. Shut up. Right. Quick. Quiet. What do you want? Is it money? Come on, hurry up. I want shotguns. It's your arm. I'm not going to clear you out. Come on. Keep still. Keep quiet. Where are your car keys? In my coat pocket in the cloakroom. Hurry up, come on. Come on, quick.
Do you want to come in? Won't be a second.
There's a customer in the shop. You'd better be quiet. Have you got any alarm systems? It's sharks. Any hidden cameras? No, I haven't. Chuck some petrol on him. I'll ask you once again. Have you got any hidden cameras? You can't do that. You should have told us more about the alarm.
Hello! Call the police!
Three miles from the shop, two men were seen moving guns from one car into what was probably a white Ford Cortina. Ian Lacey has told me this is by far the most grotesque crime he's ever had to investigate, or any of your colleagues come to that. How is Alan Bray at the moment?
Alan is still very, very poorly. His injuries are so horrific that he faces years and years of surgery in order that he can lead some sort of meaningful life.
For people to understand just how badly he was burned, he only got away because the fire was so severe it burnt through the ropes that were tethering him.
If those bombs hadn't burned, then this evening, Nick, you and I would have been talking about a murder.
the incredible thing, the truly incredible thing, if it isn't incredible enough that someone should do that to another human being, is it seems totally motiveless. They'd done the robbery, they'd got the guns. Why did they do it?
Absolutely. You're saying what I've been saying to myself for weeks, that we just cannot find any reason why anybody would want to inflict that sort of injury on a fellow human being.
Now, it did seem that Alan might die for some time, actually, but he's been able to give you something of a description now.
Yes, he has, and also we've had a breakthrough in the last few days. We've had detectives with him, and he's been able to give us an artist's impression of the blonde robber. And anybody looking at that artist's impression, if they think they can put a name to it, I would urge them to ring me.
One of the witnesses corroborates that. Incidentally, one witness, the guy who was in the shop, hasn't come forward yet, has he? You're still appealing to find him.
This is the man
customer.
who may or may not have been the customer. Despite all our efforts, we haven't traced that man.
Now, they left behind a clue. We saw at the beginning of the reconstruction, there they were sketching away. They left some sketches there.
Yes, they did. We were able to recover from the shop a sketch which is obviously taken from where the Fiesta was parked, of the back of Alan's shop.
Now, this is what the back of the shop looks like, and the sketch is obviously taken from the same position. And whoever did it, he can draw perspective. Now, somebody might recognise something in that drawing there. There's a substantial reward, isn't there? £12,000.
Yes, there is £12,000 on offer. We lost 29 firearms in total. Strangely enough, most of the villains that I've spoken to since this crime are so sickened and horrified as we are by it that the reward is almost incidental to them.
But if I mean, you've brought a series of guns here which are very similar to those that are missing, if someone's in possession of one of these, they're going to be very reluctant to call in, aren't they? They get implicated themselves?
If I could only get the message across to them that all I am interested in is finding the two men that set fire to Alan Bray. I'm not interested in how they came by weapons, where they think they came from. Anybody who can help in any way, I would urge them to please ring me.
Ian Lacey, it may sound a cliche, but I'm sure the whole nation hopes you get your men tonight. If you can help in any way, please call us. Remember, this programme is live. You can speak to any one of the detectives behind me, or to a BBC researcher if you prefer. The number, 01811 8055, 01811 8055. If you prefer, you can call the incident room in Leicester, Leicester 482 400. That's 0533, the code for Leicester, 482 400.
Well, now to the incident desk, where we invite the police to appeal to you directly. This month we have some clothing that may identify a murder victim, a penknife that could help trace a man who attacked an 11-year-old in Manchester, and a video which shows a raid taking place on a Surrey petrol station. Here are Superintendent David Hatcher and Constable Helen Phelps.
First, we need your help to identify a murder victim. Just yesterday morning, a young woman's body was found near Boxley Village, outside Maidstone. She'd been strangled. Her body was wrapped in these night dresses. They both have writing on. One says, "Give us a kiss at bedtime," and the other has this bear motif with the words, "I can see you." And there's a jacket which was probably hers. It's grey, white and maroon. The woman was about 30, 5'1" and slim. She had black hennaed hair and there's a burn scar on her right upper arm. She also had a deformed left foot. Someone must know who she is. Ring us now.
Today there have been dramatic new developments into the murder of 26-year-old Shaney Warren, who was found in Taplow Lake in Buckinghamshire on Easter Saturday. Shaney lived in Stoke Poges, only 4 miles from where she was found dead. At 6 p.m. on Good Friday, she finished mowing her lawn and was seen loading the cuttings into her black Vauxhall Cavalier. It's thought she may have intended taking them to her parents' home in Gerrard's Cross, 2 miles away, but her body was found here. Today, a new witness has come forward who says that at 6:15 p.m. he saw a black car broken down on the A4 just outside Maidenhead and only half a mile from Taplow Lake. He noticed 3 men and a young woman peering under the bonnet. Could that have been Shaney? And who are the 3 men? We've also just learned that at 11:30 that night, a light blue Metro was seen parked in the lay-by at Taplow Lake. 2 hours later, Shaney's black Cavalier was seen parked in the same lay-by. The light blue Metro had gone, and so had the keys to Shaney's car. And it's now known that Shaney's brown leather purse is missing. It's an oval shape with 2 zips. If you can help with any of these leads, ring us now.
Next, we'd like you to take a look at 2 men who've robbed in the south but may well come from the north. Here they are on February the 17th this year, robbing a petrol station at Blindley Heath, Surrey. They got away with £193, some cigarettes and lighters. We think they are also responsible for other armed robberies in Surrey and Sussex this year. The first man is described as 40 to 45, 5'10", with a beer belly. The second man may be Mediterranean or Asian, about 25, slim and nearly 6 foot tall. One of their victims said they spoke with northern accents, and people who think they met them in pubs in Surrey remember them saying they worked as crane erectors. Ring us now if you recognise them.
Next, we need to find a man who attacked an 11-year-old girl in Manchester last month. Millgate Fields is an open area in the Didsbury suburb to the southwest of the city. On the 25th of March, 2 girls were out walking there when they were confronted by a man who threatened them with a knife. They've helped us to compile this video fit of him. He's about 18, 5 foot 10 inches and slim. He has blonde hair with brown streaks and large freckles and was wearing a 2-tone anorak. Luckily, one of the girls escaped and ran screaming to her father, who was walking ahead. The attacker ran off. This knife was found later. Notice it has the name Busby on the handle. Look at his face again and ring us now if you know who he is.
These beautiful ball gowns were photographed at the NSPCC dress show in the Savoy Hotel earlier this month. They were designed by Annalisa Sharp. But on Tuesday the 14th of April, the evening after the fashion show, thieves broke into her studio in Holland Road, West London, and stole 12 dresses from her treasured collection. Annalise's workroom was completely ransacked. The thieves also took 2 portfolios containing her life's work in fashion design. These dresses are almost identical to 3 of those stolen, except one like this had a lurex bodice, and an identical design to this was a much paler pink. The stolen dresses are worth about £400 each, and they all have this label in the back. Detectives believe that the dresses may have been stolen to be copied, but someone must know where they are. If you've seen them, call us now.
The number to call if you can help is 01811 8055, 01811 8055.
We'll now have a look at these greetings cards. The pictures are from paintings by a British artist called Hector Caffieri. He worked mainly in watercolours and often painted French and English ports around the turn of the century, and also flowers and landscapes. Lately, his pictures have enjoyed something of a revival, fetching up to £17,000. Some of the original paintings have been passed down to the artist's grandson, who lives with his wife in Watford, Hertfordshire. Last month, his entire collection was stolen. It's worth about £50,000. At the request of the couple, we've changed their name for our reconstruction, which begins 4 days before the robbery on Saturday, the 28th of February, in Bedford. That Saturday, GB Auctions in Bedford were holding their usual weekend car and van sale. Hundreds of prospective buyers had gathered to bid for any likely-looking bargains coming under the auctioneer's hammer. Lot 21 was an ex-British Telecom van. Registration number FFL 917W. According to normal practice, it had been stripped of its Telecom logos.
£400 only bid 4, bid 4, bid 20. 420 only bid 40. 440 bid and selling at £440. It goes out, sold it, I'll take 50. Once, twice, all done at 450. Yeah, Mustang.
Whoever bought the van paid cash, and the name and address he left before driving it away turned out to be false. Four days later, and 40 miles away, in the Caffieri Park estate in Watford, police believe it was the same van, now with full Telecom livery restored, which pulled into a small cul-de-sac. Mrs. Walker didn't see the van. She was on the phone to her daughter at the time.
Oh, green. Oh, Daddy likes that. No, I can't tell him. He's off golfing. Oh, all right, darling. Yes, you're always in such a rush. Right, bye.
A neighbour then saw what she took to be 2 Telecom engineers at work by a telegraph pole. Moments later, the van reversed into Mrs. Walker's drive.
Good morning, madam. Telephone engineers.
Telephone? Well, what's the trouble?
Well, there seems to be some problems with the phones in the street and we're checking...
Mrs Walker wasn't expecting British Telecom, but she remembered a telecom area survey some weeks before when she'd mentioned there'd been some crackle on her line. She assumed they'd come about that.
Well, would it be all right if you come in?
Yes. Yes, come in.
Where is your phone, love?
Just over there.
Oh, right. I thought so. Dead.
Dead?
Dead as a doornail.
Well, that's strange. It was working just now.
Have you got any other phones in the house?
Upstairs in the bedroom. Yes, it's dead.
Yeah, have you got a ladder, love?
Yes, there's one in the garage.
The men and their van seemed credible, but Mrs Walker was beginning to have her doubts.
Well, I'm afraid we're going to have a look in the loft.
Is that really necessary? It's a bit grubby up there, I think.
Yeah. Pass the torch, yeah?
Here you go.
Yeah, touch.
But be careful of the burglar alarm wires.
Yeah. Thought so. The wires up there are totally frozen up. We're going to need a blow heater or a hairdryer. Have you got
Frozen up?
Come on, there's one in the van.
one? Yeah. Be back in a minute, all right?
Now Mrs Walker was really worried. Her first thought was to hide her jewellery.
Oh, stay there, good boy. Oh, my God!
Right. Me and him have only got 6 months to live.
Yeah, and we're gonna live it up. So do as we say.
So you come here.
Okay, move. Quick.
For some strange reason, the two men had now decided to pull on balaclavas and produce shotguns. In the study, they shackled Mrs Walker's hands behind her back.
Oh, my God!
Roll over.
Please don't hurt me.
They didn't seem to want to hurt her, but just to keep her out of the way.
Come on, let's go. Let's go. Come on.
Wait, what's you...
Get this sorted.
Oh, please tell me what you're taking.
They took all the paintings they could find from the walls and from the loft.
Listen, love, you're a nice lady, right? When's your husband coming home?
I don't know.
You don't know. Anyway, here's a key, okay?
About an hour later, 6 miles away, near Chipperfield Common, a motorist saw two men beside a telecom van and another larger van parked by a narrow bend. Later that morning, and in that same lane, two girls from a local riding school saw flames coming from the woods. A yellow telecom van was ablaze. Through the smoke, they saw two people on a motorcycle. They watched them ride off in the direction of Chipperfield village. Well, Gary Purser, do you think those paintings were actually changing hands at the spot where the witness saw the two vans parked?
I think it's most unlikely because, as we saw from the reconstruction, it's a very narrow lane there. And in fact, if we look at the micromap, we can see that from the Caffieri estate, it is in fact 6 miles to Chipperfield Common, and the main route they should have taken was Bucks Hill. There is an alternative via Old House Lane, and obviously we're appealing to anybody who may well have seen that transaction taking place anywhere between those 2 points.
Right. And there were 11 paintings involved altogether, weren't there?
11 paintings in all, the majority of them by Hector Caffieri. In fact, Medici Cards have been able to make these reproductions for us. This one's the French fisherman, and we have a village wedding scene here again in France, and finally a French fish market.
Any idea where any of these paintings might be now?
Well, they're very popular at the moment, and in fact there is a market for them in Holland.
What about descriptions of the men? What do they look like?
Well, again, we've been very fortunate there. A number of witnesses have been able to build us up a very good video fit, and we can see that the man number one, the one with the glasses on, he's described as 20 to 26 years old, very, very thin and very pale, almost albino looking, and one of the witnesses described him as possibly undergoing some drastic medical treatment, perhaps chemotherapy.
Yeah, we can see him without his glasses as well.
That's right.
So the fact, when they said that they were only had 6 months to live, they could really have been telling the truth, perhaps?
They could have been. They did mention that they had AIDS, but again, with the glasses, that could be true or could be false. We don't know.
And these men obviously weren't art experts because they stole one of Mrs. Walker's daughter's paintings, didn't they?
Yes, that was a watercolour done by the daughter of the family, and again, they stole a print of Caffieri House.
Right. Now, the van itself was bought 2 days before the robbery. They finally drove it away from the auction 2 days before the robbery. Where was it in those 2 days, do you think?
Well, they gave a false name, the name of Jones, but the address they gave, Trident Drive in Houghton Regis, actually exists. The address has obviously been checked and it isn't connected, but obviously anybody in that sort of area would be interested to know where the van was for those 2 days.
Right, well, there is a reward, isn't there, of £2,000?
£2,000, yes.
Right, and by the way, do remember that if British Telecom engineers do call, they always call with prior notice, so don't accept anybody you haven't heard from before. Please call us if you do think you can help. The number here is 01811 8055, or call Hertfordshire Police on Welwyn Garden City 331011. That's 0707, the code for Welwyn Garden City, 331011.
Now to photo call. Pictures of people you may know, or indeed who you might meet in the next few days. All of them are wanted by the police. Here again are David Hatcher and Helen Phelps.
Our first case on tonight's photo call is a cheque fraudster who so far got away with nearly £200,000. This is him, and so are these, taken from security cameras in 30 different banks. He cashes cheques at £100 a time at banks in London and the home counties, but chequebooks themselves have often been stolen from as far afield as Yorkshire and Cornwall. Look at him again, with and without his horn-rimmed specs, and if you know who or where he is, call us now.
Next, a man who's been caught in the act 3 times, but so far only on camera in building societies in Essex. Here he is last November at the Anglia Building Society in Gants Hill, Ilford. He threatened staff and may have had a gun in that plastic bag. In his hurry to escape, he dropped several fivers on the floor. But that was his second visit. Here he is in the same clothes at the same building society when he robbed it last August. And the month before that, he was in Dagenham, robbing a Leeds Permanent Building Society. This time he seems to have left his baseball cap at home. Earlier this month, he robbed another branch of the Leeds in Hornchurch. He claims to be armed and could strike again. Look at all 3 pictures, and if you know him, please call us.
Next, Peter William Preston, who we'd like to talk to about some missing video equipment. Since January 1986, he's been visiting shops from Aberdeen to Hampshire and persuading the proprietors to loan him video equipment. He also hired a silver Volvo GLT estate car, registration number B686OSA, which has not been returned. Preston claims either to be a filmmaker or a dealer in second-hand video equipment. He's 43 years old, 5'10", well-spoken, and is often accompanied by a woman and an 8-year-old girl. If you've seen him, call us.
Now the face of a man who has been heard but not seen since last summer. His name is Peter Jonathan Denby, a London solicitor. On the 3rd of June last year, police, called to Down Street, Mayfair, were threatened by 2 armed men who leapt out of a parked car as they approached it. Last week, one of the gunmen, Philip Callaghan, was found guilty of this offence. During his trial, the court heard that Denby was believed to have been the driver of the car. Since his disappearance, Denby has been in touch with people he knows. He has contacts with Conservative MPs and used to be parliamentary aide to Ulster Unionist MP Enoch Powell. There have been unconfirmed reports that Denby had links with Ulster Protestant terrorists. When Denby's Jaguar car was found, a bomb squad was called and blew it up. Denby was known to enjoy a flamboyant lifestyle, and we think he must be in the country. Ring us now if you know where he is, but don't approach him. He could be dangerous. And call us if you recognise any of our photo call faces.
And here's the number if there's anyone you recognise. 01 811 8055. That's 01 811 8055.
It's just over 6 weeks now since a private detective called Daniel Morgan was found dead in a car park of a pub in South London. It was gruesome. He'd been killed with an axe. The police described the case as a sticker. In other words, it's one they just can't solve. For nearly 30 hours, they did hold for questioning Daniel Morgan's partner, John Rees, and 2 of Rees's relations. And, as you may have read, 3 policemen were also questioned, but they've been eliminated from the murder inquiry. With nothing else to go on, maybe you can help. Our film starts in Sydenham, South London. Daniel Morgan loved the drama of being a private eye. He saw himself as a gumshoe in a TV series, and he liked to boast about the glamour of the job.
It's 1:10.
Collecting bad debts or seeking evidence of a divorce case. But it did involve a lot of cloak and dagger work, and it could have made him many enemies. Apart from his work, Daniel Morgan's abiding interest was fast cars. He had several old ones kept in various places in South London, and he was devoted to his 2 young children.
Come on, Daddy, come on.
Daniel's colleagues describe him as a workaholic. It was nothing for him to drive in his BMW, to do a job in East Anglia, maybe go on to another in the Midlands, and perhaps manage a third in the West Country, all in a single day. They were mostly dirty jobs, though, that other people didn't want to do. He specialised in what are known as motor snatchbacks, repossessing cars for which finance payments hadn't been maintained.
Another bloody nutcase.
Yeah, I had one of them yesterday. I've checked them figures. They seem okay.
Daniel Morgan and his partner John Rees had been in business together for some 6 years, and it made them a good living.
There's no doubt by tonight.
But it wasn't just the money, it was the excitement that made him work so hard. Summons serving, bailiffing, carrying out court orders, which are the stock in trade of the modern private detective. A lot of it caused distress, but he seemed to relish the almost unreal power it gave him.
What do you want?
You know what we want. It's all legal, and you've got to let her go.
On the day before he died, Daniel left his office in High Street, Thornton Heath, at about 5 o'clock. He'd spent most of the day there, but police are anxious to know where he went for the next 2 hours.
Listen, OK, lads, listen. What are you having anyway?
By 8 that Monday evening, he was drinking in the Golden Lion pub in Sydenham with his partner, Jonathan Rees, and 4 other men.
Large brandy and soda, a couple of pints of bitter, and white wine and soda, one yourself.
Next day, Tuesday, he and a colleague came back to the office at around 4:30 after spending the day in Slough. They were in buoyant mood when they went in to see one of their staff.
Traffic on the bloody motorway, what do you think? Anyway, I've got 16 warrants and some off for tomorrow.
Good. I've got some money for you. £70, £1,100. OK?
Right. At about 5:30, after making a few phone calls and with all the money in his pocket, Daniel left the office. He and John Rees had arranged to meet a contact later that evening, again in the Golden Lion.
I'm off now, John. See you in the pub at 7:30. Okay?
Yeah, OK, see you there.
But Daniel had another appointment first. He met a woman here in Regan's Wine Bar in Brigstock Road, not far from his office. There were only a handful of other people there. Possibly someone was watching them. Daniel said he had to go early because he was due at the Golden Lion later on. The couple left the wine bar shortly after 7. Was he perhaps followed from here? If not, who else knew where he was going next? Only one other witness has been traced so far who saw Daniel between 7 and 7:30.
Oh, Daniel, just the man. Could you give us a hand with the board? Cheers. Thank you.
This is just near his office in Thornton Heath High Street.
Yeah, sure. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
John Rees had already parked his car at the front of the pub. Daniel Morgan put his car at the back. The man they were supposed to meet didn't turn up, and the two of them drank alone. One witness remembers two people of Mediterranean appearance looking intently through the window. There weren't many other drinkers in the saloon bar, though there was a ladies' darts team in the back room. Were you there that night?
Yeah.
The barmaid at the Golden Lion remembers Daniel buying his last round.
There we go, love. Give us a white wine and soda, brandy and coke, and a couple of packs of crisps, yeah?
Right, I'm off then. See you tomorrow.
John Rees told the police he left to go to his car at the front of the pub at about 9 p.m. He assumed Daniel was headed for the rear car park. But did Daniel go out the back way to the car park? And did he go with someone, or did he meet his killer in the dark? Close to his car, someone struck him from behind and then hit him 3 more times. Lying next to Daniel Morgan's body were the 2 packets of crisps, which police think were for his children. Douglas Campbell is looking for anyone who was in the Golden Lion in Sydenham Road on that evening, but you're also trying to find who sold this axe. Now, this actually isn't the murder weapon.
Now, that is a replica we bought, but it's identical to the murder weapon.
And it has this orange wax in the top here. It's Chinese.
It's a Chinese axe. They're imported into this country in the thousands, but what is more significant is the way it's taped. It's got 2 elastoplasts on the handle.
As though to be gripped, like that?
That's right, as if to assist the grip or to stop the perspiration from somebody's hands, allowing it to slip. I would ask anybody who saw that axe or sold it in the days leading up to the 10th of March, or who saw it with the plaster on it, to let me know. It might have been left in the back of a car or in the boot.
Now, you have a photo in your possession. You're trying to trace the subject.
Yes, we have a photo of a young lady. It came into our possession, and 6 weeks into the inquiry, we're still unable to identify her.
She may be quite irrelevant, of course.
Might have nothing to do with Danny Morgan at all, but I would ask the girl to come forward so at least we can eliminate her or know exactly who she is.
And a watch was stolen?
A Rolex watch was stolen from the deceased body.
Right, identical to this one?
It is, a Rolex.
OK. You believe that somebody must know, even though this could have been a lone attack, you believe somebody either knows or suspects?
Well, in all major crimes, I feel that obviously there's the killer or the criminal, but there's always some other person who suspects that that person is responsible, and I would ask that person, in this case, to come forward to help us solve this brutal killing.
All right, well, the number to call here is 01811 8055, 01811 8055, or you could call the Metropolitan Police at Sydenham on 01697 9212. That's 01 if you're outside London, 697 9212. Incidentally, could I appeal to a woman who rang a few minutes ago in some distress about the burning of the gun shop owner, Alan Bray? She clearly has some information, or believes she has. Please do call us again. You can ring on any of our numbers. Please do call again and ask to speak to the detective in charge of the gun shop raid. Sue?
Well, do bear with us if you're having difficulty getting through. Please keep trying. You'll find alternative numbers on CFAX if you have that. That's on page 186. But if you can't get through, you can call your local police, or if you'd rather not phone, do please write to us. It's Crimewatch UK, BBC TV, London W12 8QT.
We'll be back with Crimewatch Update at 11:30 to let you know about calls we've been receiving. If you can't stay up to then, David Hatcher and Helen Phelps will be giving details of calls received tonight in BBC's Open Air at 12:05 thereabouts tomorrow. Do bear in mind, we've brought together crimes that happened in different places and over many, many weeks. Serious crime is a great deal more uncommon than we make it seem here on Crimewatch, so please don't have nightmares, do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.